When she told me she wanted a baby, I just stared at her, my heart pounding so loudly I thought she could hear it. Her voice was trembling, her eyes filled with tears. And she said it like it was the most beautiful dream two people could share. But the only thing I felt in that moment was dread. Because while she was talking about starting a family, I already knew something she didn't think I knew. The truth that the baby she wanted wasn't supposed to be mine. Tell me, what would you have done if you found out the person you love was planning to bring a child into the world just to cover up their betrayal? Would you confront them? Or would you wait, like I did, to let them trap themselves in their own lies? It all started about 3 years ago when I met Anna. She was charming, confident, and had this infectious laugh that could pull anyone in. We met through mutual friends at a party, and by the end of that night, we were already lost in conversation. She had this energy that made you feel like you were the only one in the room. And for someone like me, who had just come out of a long, dull relationship, she was a breath of fresh air. Things moved fast between us. Within months we were spending almost every night together, cooking dinner, binging shows, sharing little dreams about the future. I thought I'd finally found my person. The first year was perfect. We barely fought, we traveled together. We posted those annoying couple photos that make single people roll their eyes. I loved her, deeply. But around our second year, things started to shift, subtle at first. Like a small crack that grows quietly until it's too big to ignore. She became distant. Her phone, which she used to leave anywhere, suddenly became glued to her hand. She started working, late, more often, and whenever I'd ask about it, she'd give vague answers like, "Oh, just catching up with a few deadlines." Or helping a coworker out. I wanted to trust her, but something inside me was screaming that something wasn't right. One night, she came home around midnight, hair slightly messy, wearing a perfume I didn't recognize. When I hugged her, I could smell it, not hers, not mine, not from work. Something different. I remember saying jokingly, "You smell fancy, who's the lucky one tonight?" She froze for a second, then laughed awkwardly and said, "Oh, one of the girls from work gave me a new sample, you know I love trying stuff." I nodded, pretending to believe her, but my gut was twisting. That was the night the doubt really set in. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing other things. She'd smile at texts but tilt her phone away. She started dressing up more, even for errands. And the intimacy between us slowly faded. Every time I tried to initiate she'd find an excuse, tired, stressed, not in the mood. I told myself it was just a phase, that maybe she was going through something. But deep down I knew. I just didn't want to face it yet. Then came the night that changed everything. She was in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the counter. Normally I would never touch it, but that night, something pushed me. Maybe instinct, maybe desperation. I picked it up and saw a message preview from someone saved as, "Evan, work." It read, "Can't stop thinking about last night. You looked amazing." My stomach dropped. My hands shook as I opened the conversation. There it was, months of texts, flirty messages, plans to meet, pictures. Things I can't unsee. She wasn't just cheating. She was building a second life with him. When she came out of the shower, I couldn't even look at her. I wanted to scream, to throw her phone, to demand answers. But I didn't. I just said I wasn't feeling well and went to bed. I spent the entire night awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling something inside me collapse. The next morning, I decided not to confront her yet. I wanted to know what she really wanted from me now. So, I acted normal. For weeks, I smiled, I kissed her goodbye. I pretended everything was fine. But behind that mask I was watching. I became an actor in my own relationship. A few weeks later she started acting sweeter than usual. Cooking my favorite meals, texting me cues during the day. I thought maybe she was feeling guilty. But then one evening, as we were having dinner, she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "I think I'm ready." I asked, "Ready for what?" And she said softly, "A baby. I want us to start a family." I froze. My fork literally slipped from my hand. I asked her if she was sure, and she nodded, saying she'd been thinking about it for months. I couldn't believe it. Because according to her texts with Evan, they'd slept together multiple times. Including around the same time she was now suggesting we try for a baby. I realized then that she wasn't just asking for a child. She was setting up her ally. If she got pregnant, she could pass it off as mine. That night, when she fell asleep, I went through her phone again. The messages were shots of everything. Every date, every word, every photo. I backed them up on a drive and printed copies. I didn't know exactly what I'd do yet, but I knew I had to protect myself. She wasn't going to trap me in her lie. The next few weeks were torture. She started tracking her cycle, leaving pregnancy test kits on the counter, talking about baby names. It made me sick. I played along, pretending to be excited, but inside I was boiling. I didn't want to believe that the woman I loved could do something so manipulative. I tried giving her one last chance to come clean. One night, I told her, "You know you can tell me anything, right? Whatever it is, I'll understand." She smiled and said, "Of course. There's nothing to tell." That was the moment I knew she'd never stop lying. So that's the situation I was in. The woman I loved, the person I thought I'd spend my life with, was trying to have a baby just to cover up her affair. Before I tell you what I did next, I want you to pause and think. What would you have done in my place? Would you confront her and risk her denying everything? Or would you wait and let the truth destroy her from the inside? Comment below what you'd have done. Because I really want to know if I handled it right. I decided to play the long game. If she wanted to build her lie, I was going to let her. But I'd make sure it collapsed right when she least expected it. So when she started trying for a baby, I secretly stopped sleeping with her. I started using excuses, stress, work, not feeling well. She was frustrated, but she didn't push too hard. A few weeks later, she came to me one morning, holding a pregnancy test. Her hands trembling. "It's positive." She was crying, shaking, overjoyed. I hugged her, pretending to be happy, but inside I felt nothing but disgust. I already knew. The timing didn't make sense. She hadn't even been with me for weeks. She started to had me trapped. She started telling everyone, her parents, her friends, that we were expecting. I played along smiling, saying all the right things. But behind her back, I went straight to a lawyer. I told him everything. Showed him the evidence, and he advised me to wait for be born before taking a paternity test. Those months were hell. Watching her talk about, or baby. Feeling the walls close in, pretending to be the loving father, to be when I knew the truth. During her pregnancy, she and Evan's contact slowed down. I think she got scared. Maybe she thought cutting him off would erase the past. She deleted his number, blocked him on social media. But I still had the receipts. Every single one. And I was waiting. The day she gave birth, I was there in the hospital, holding her hand as she cried and laughed. The baby, a little girl, was beautiful something, but all I felt was emptiness. I looked at that tiny face and knew she wasn't mine. Still, I kept the mask on. 2 weeks later, when we brought the baby home, I told her wanted to get a paternity test, just to be sure everything's fine. She looked shocked. "What? Why?" she said. I told her it was just a precaution, that I'd read some medical article about matching genetics for health reasons. She hesitated but eventually agreed. Probably because she thought refusing would make her look guilty. We did the test. She smiled through it, completely unaware of the storm that was about to hit her. When the results came back, I was alone when I opened them. My heart was pounding, my hand shaking. The result was exactly what I expected. 0% probability of paternity. I sat there, staring at the paper, feeling this strange mix of anger, relief, and sadness. That night, I confronted her. I walked into the living room, placed the papers on the table, and said, "You want to tell me whose baby this is?" Her face went pale. She stammered, tried to deny it, said there must be a mistake. I told her I had all the messages, the pictures, everything. She broke down crying, begging me to forgive her, saying it was a mistake, that she didn't know how to stop it once it started. I asked her if Evan knew about the baby. She shook her head and said, "No, he doesn't even know I was pregnant." That made me even angrier. She'd lied to everyone, used me as her shield, and now she wanted sympathy. I told her I'd be filing for separation immediately. I told her the lawyer already had everything ready. She tried to hold me, begged me to think about the baby, but I couldn't even look at her. "That's not my baby," I said quietly. "You made sure of that." In the weeks that followed, she tried everything. Guilt, manipulation, even threats. She said I'd ruin her life, that people would judge her, that I'd be heartless to walk away. But I didn't care anymore. I'd already been humiliated, betrayed, and used. I told her I'd make sure Evan knew the truth too. That's when she completely lost it, screaming, crying, saying I couldn't do that to her. But I did. I found him on social media, sent him the test results and copies of their messages. His response was short. "Thank you for telling me. 2 days later, I heard from a mutual friend that he'd ended things with her completely. She moved out a month later, taking the baby with her. I heard she went to live with her parents in another city. I haven't seen her since, but sometimes, late at night, I think about how different things could have been if she'd just been honest. Maybe we could have worked through it. Maybe not. But lying? Using a child to cover her tracks, that was unforgivable. People sometimes ask me if I regret not trying harder, or if I feel guilty about leaving a child behind. The answer is complicated. I don't blame the baby, she's innocent. But I couldn't raise a child built on betrayal. Every time I looked at her, I'd be reminded of the lies. The nights she was with someone else, the way she looked me in the eye, and said she loved me while hiding the truth. Now, it's been almost 2 years since everything ended. I've moved on slowly. I focused on myself, on rebuilding my life. Trust doesn't come easy anymore, and relationships feel heavier, but I'm learning. Sometimes you need to let the truth destroy everything before you can start again. Looking back, I still wonder what her plan really was. Did she think I'd never find out? That I'd raise another man's child and never question it? Or was she just desperate to fix the mess she'd made, thinking a baby would glue us back together? I'll never know. But I do know one thing. No matter how much you love someone, never ignore your gut. The truth always finds its way out, no matter how deeply someone tries to bury it. So, was I wrong for the way I handled it? For letting her trap herself instead of confronting her earlier? I'd love to know what you think. Like this video if you were on my side. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories like this. And please, share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if you found out the baby wasn't yours? I'll see you all in the next story.